What's up, guys? So I'm back to do a town hall recap, and I have to give away some SPS from this video because if you went to the Hive Post and made some comments, you got a chance to win. So you got your name on the wheel, and I just realized that I closed the wheel, so let's open it back up. Luckily, it saves those names that I put in, but let me just double check from the sheet that looks correct. Actually, I'll just paste them in again one more time. We're doing it live, people. The name should stay the same. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Let's give away some SPS, baby. 50 to the winner. We're doing it early in the video instead of at the end. And I'm going to pick 3 winners. So first, we got Sejong coming through with the win. So we'll copy that. We'll jump into Splinterlands, which I should have had open too, but you know, what are you going to do? I'm not fully prepared, guys, but I don't feel like starting over. Let's see if we can get this done, because when we give away the stuff first, hopefully I don't make any major mistakes because we don't start over. We're going to hit transfer here. We're going to hit 50 SPS. These new pages sometimes, you know, still getting used to them. And we'll transfer that out. Then we'll go back to the wheel. We will remove that person and we will spin again. I missed a couple town halls. Haven't been making as much content. So going to give away a little bit more SPS this time. We got Larkin 36 coming in with a win now. Oops, we don't want we have a winner. We just want Larkin's name. Back to Splinterlands. Transfer. We'll do it quicker this time. 50 SPS coming your way. Bam, bam, bam. Hopefully that helps you out, Larkin. 36, and go back to the winner's wheel. Remove. This is your best chance to win. The least amount of people on the wheel this time, but it's also the last winner of the night. It's going to be Olaf.goo, it looks like. I know you've been commenting on my post, but I don't think you've won before. And tonight you only won because we picked 3 winners instead of 1. So congratulations to you. Make sure you click the link that'll be pinned in the comments or in the description to the post on Hive. As long as you have a Hive account, leave a comment there about the video, something nice, not just spammy. Come on, take a second, and you might be able to win some SPS. Now let's get into a town hall recap, shall we? Going to the top. Oh boy, we're just going to roll with this one, guys. We're just going to go with it. Okay, so we started off with Ollie. He's from the Blockchain Founders Fund. And basically, him and Hagrod had a nice, good, almost 20-minute section of the show where they talked about who Ollie was, who Blockchain Founders Fund were, and finally made us understand why they put in this idea to do an SPS proposal. We're going to click this really quick, and then we'll go back to give 20 million SPS ready to get a listing. And so the gist of this is when I first saw this, and I think a lot of us saw this, we saw Blockchain FF with 2 reputation points. Count them 2. We saw him wanting 20 million SPS set aside. It wasn't super clear where these were going to go. There wasn't enough information in this. This is what hopefully the new community leaders will help fix. And they explained why some of this has to be vague. Okay, here's the truth. When they go to a Binance, a Coinbase, those are probably not who they're going to, but whoever it is in the top 10 that they're talking to, and go, we'd like to get SPS listed, and they come back and they say, okay, it's going to cost $200,000 if you would like us to list your token, or you have to give us this many SPS, maybe $250,000 worth if we're going to take your token over BUSD. And then they're not allowed to tell anybody because those offers are given with NDAs. And if Splinterlands were to violate that NDA in any way, or the people that know about it, it would void the deal and they would never be able to go back to that exchange. So we have to understand that. Once all of this was explained, once we knew a little bit about who this guy was, and we understood that he's been part of the company for the past 4 years, he owns 3 tracks, he's a serious investor into the company and Splinterlands, and he's been helping us all. Well, look what it did when we go over here and look at the proposals. This went from failing to passing. So this wasn't going to get out of pre-proposal. It was failing miserably, and now it's at a 63% approval rate with over 22, and it's going to be in the green. It just has to pass this. It doesn't I don't know if this has enough to actually pass, but it's passing with enough to become an official proposal. Kind of like these, and these two that are going right now are both passing. So we are going to get the land starter packages, unless something changes pretty drastically. That's at 80%. We are going to get reserve enough Chaos Legion packs to provide rewards until Rebellion, but that one is going to pass. Clearly, that got a lot of support, and it looks like this convert BUSC DAO holdings into deck DAI, which is theoretically stable, two stable coins. So take BUSD, buy up a bunch of DEC, pair it with DAI, stake it on the Ethereum platform, and then I guess the DAO is going to be collecting staking rewards because there is a pool for this, and it just creates some more liquidity for people to get out into the ETH chain, which isn't terrible because, there are some ETH whales that we'd like to attract. And if they have more liquidity on their chain, they're more likely to possibly come into our ecosystem. That looks like it's going to get out of pre-approval because it is currently passing with 70%. But not a lot of people are voting on this. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes for now. That's going to help it out a little bit. I do have a 350,000 vote, so that'll move it up to 22.4 million. And just because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to vote for this now, I'm going to think about it more and we'll let it become official and then see where the community stands when we get into the big vote. Because I think we should at least maybe let this one move forward because, sometimes we do that when we look at these. Now that was basically the first part of this. If you don't care that much about it, if you don't really care if we get a top 10 listing or not for the coin because you're not really looking to move a lot of volume, just know if it's the right exchange, it could pump some extra money into the SPS ecosystem and get us some publicity. But unless it's Coinbase or Binance, I don't really think it's worth it in the long term. But then again, I'm living in the US, and so I either want the biggest exchange or the biggest US exchange. I don't like Huobi didn't do much for me because I'm not going to use that exchange. Crypto.com is a terrible exchange. I don't even know if SPS is still there. I'm not going to use that exchange. So, a Kraken or even a KuCoin would be kind of exciting. So maybe those ones would be something that at least we know those are popular and used. But we'll have to see what happens. But it does look like that should now at least make it into the next stage of voting. And then Jarvie showed up, and it was kind of funny. He reached out to me as a creator, and we've talked a little bit in the past, and I've done some videos on Peak Monsters, and I knew they had this new feature coming out called decks, and I thought it was just the ability for me to create a deck and rent it out. It is not. It is actually very close to being something that might revolutionize the entire Splinterlands game. I'm not even going to try to undersell this. This is pretty amazing. So we're going to jump over into Peak Monsters again, and we're going to look at the decks page. What this is going to allow players to do is actually create decks to show you the decks that they use to play. Then it shows you how much it would cost to buy those cards, how much it would cost to rent those cards. So this is a Peak Monsters All Chaos Legion Edition silver leveled deck. So this is every Chaos Legion card leveled up to silver level. It's 89 total cards. It would cost you $1,300 to buy this deck, and the rental price per day is about 732 DEC. Now, clearly, this is a cool enough feature, but this is the thing that's pretty amazing. Look at down here. We have an Earth Set B by Sadie. He's saying this is a lineup for a modern match when you're having Sniper, Fog of War, and Armor that I've found pretty successful in Champion League. So you are able to create individual decks that you could show people that were good for certain lineups. And then they're letting you go ahead and come here. And as you create these, you can create a lot. You can get upvotes. Like if you agree that this deck is actually pretty good, I can give it a star, which is giving it an upvote. If it gets a whole bunch of stars and favorites, it gets moved up higher up the ladder. So like obviously this entire edition Chaos Legion for max set, showing you that would cost you $5,000 and 7,000 DEC a day to get. gold modern with with adjustments to make it a little bit cheaper here. So this is somebody who's saying this is a deck that can make it into gold modern that I put together with a couple untamed cards, but things to make it cheaper so that you can you can get it for only 3,000 and play in gold. This one's playing in champion, these ones in silver. So a lot of people are really thankful for these. We got an Xbot diamond level deck. So this is somebody who says that he's using the Xbot and he's created a deck that is able to make it into the diamond tier. And when you look at this deck, it cost $8,000. And it would cost 10,000 DEC to rent. The great part about this is you can do a lot of things. It's worth it to watch Jarvie's page if this interests you, whether or not you, his part of the video, whether or not you want to rent cards or if you want to just be someone who is building decks. If you become one of the best deck builders, one of the people who gets the most stars, then you're going to have opportunities to work with peak monsters, possibly earn some rewards. So this is going to be structured so that the best players in the game can come in here, create decks, and teach you about them. Now, obviously, a lot of the more popular ones right now are ones created by peak monsters. That makes sense. They are, they know what they're doing in the game, and they have a lot of experience building different decks. And then we have, and if you go down here, though, you're going to see we've got, Ossifid Turbo is a pretty good player. I think they said Kira's in here building decks. I'm thinking about coming in here and starting to build decks and build some of my favorite. Yeah, see, here's Kira. So Kira built a deck, a water budget until it's not Kira 95. So this is a water deck. It costs $200, and it looks like he didn't say what level these are. Silver. So he's making silver decks. Kira is noticed as being one of the best silver players. I don't want to underestimate this. This is actually something that I think is very cool. It's why I'm talking about it for a bit longer than people might expect in this recap. But it's something I'm going to be building some decks. I'm going to be trying it out. I'm going to be having some fun with it, and I'll be covering it even more in the future. Okay, now let's get into the rest of Town Hall. So in our Words for Wizards, we had some interesting updates come out. For starters, the sets are supposed to roll out this week, tomorrow, when they do the update, so that we can start to filter the cards in better ways, and they can be filtered for better ways in tournaments. It's really kind of silly that you can't use modern rewards cards in the modern tournaments because they're just not filtered in because the rewards are not able to be filtered into that set. This is going to fix that problem. It's going to make modern tournaments and brawls more of what they were supposed to be, and it's also going to just make things, I think, a lot better when you're looking at markets on Splinterlands. Peak Monsters already has filtering for making things truly a modern filter and a other filter, but this is going to be nice to be in the game because it's going to make it better when we play. Now, they did change some things. So Dispel and Life Leech, you're taking away something that was pretty cool. In Blast formats, you used to get Life Leeching off of all the targets that you hit. Now you're not going to do that. It's only going to be off the main target. When you used to Dispel, you dispelled all targets that you hit. You're not going to do that anymore. You're only going to dispel the initial target that you hit. So Life Leech and Dispel get a nerf along with every monster with Dispel and Life Leech. That's a bit of a bummer. Going the distance and Wands Out will no longer appear in chaos sets only for brawls and tournaments, because apparently there is some times where with some teams eliminated, you would not be able to put a card on the board because there are no mages in Little League for one of the teams. I thought that was kind of weird, but I guess if you were like missing one or two cards, you wouldn't be able to field a team, and they just felt that was kind of unfair because you shouldn't have to have every card in the set to compete, right? So they made that little switch. We got to change to Scattershot, which makes it a lot better. Scattershot can now hit camouflaged characters, and this was a little prelude to something that is about to come out that I'm sure a lot of you have already seen, and that's the Dragon Summoner and its abilities, but we'll see that in just a minute. Text modernization, we got to look at the license section moving over to it. We got the vouchers moving over to it. We got the other license page moving over to it. We also got a little bit of info on when you're purchasing deeds and you don't have the funds, it'll now warn you so you don't submit the transaction. and the deck price will now show the correct cost and DEC and things like that. So they're fixing everything up. We also found out when they were talking about this that the main problem to moving us into a more web focused game where the web browsers can do everything in the game is getting all the pieces of the system onto the new tech modernization code base. And they haven't done that yet to like battles or any of the big things. During the question and answers, there was a little back and forth between some people that say, you guys got to work on the mobile app. And then, really just stating they're never going to really work on the mobile app. They're just trying to make the game be able to run in a mobile browser. And hopefully they'll be able to do that sooner than later, because they're not going to try to get into the App Store, guys, because Apple kind of gates crypto games. And they could put it on Android, but let's face it, a lot of the whales, a lot of the wealthier players, they might have iPhones, and so it's not going to do any good for them to spend. Like, spending money there doesn't necessarily help if one of the major markets isn't even going to let you list your app. So instead, they're trying to move to tech modernization so you can just go to the web page on the browser, on the phone, and the game will work perfectly. The problem is, it's taking them a long time to do it, and I would almost say we could put a proposal in there that, like, you guys have to get battles on the tech modernization, because if we could just battle on the phone, I think most of us would be okay with having to come to the website on a computer to do some of the other things, but get those battles working perfectly on the mobile already so that people in the mobile clients can at least battle. Okay, so we had some general updates. The non-card market will now respect purchase authority granted to other accounts. That was really so that Peak Monsters and other third-party vendors can start selling the things that are on the non-card market. That's just better for us. More people will be able to buy stuff you try to sell, and you'll be able to buy things from more places. So that's just a really good thing. Corrected the Get More menu option for dark energy crystals on items. Other items to go to text modernization page. This is all about them doing those kind of things. The end of Chaos Legion sale leaderboard is coming up because they're doing that leaderboard package. I'm not going to try to compete in that. I don't know who is, but if in the last million packs, if you buy a lot, you're going to be able to win some prizes. The use of the term splinters has been changed to elements. So we're not playing Splinterlands anymore. We're playing Element Lands. No, it's kind of funny, but it has to do with some of the lore changes surrounding the non, some of the different creatures and classes and stuff within the game. So it's just better for the lore. They corrected some of the inconsistencies and typos in some of the lore pages that was found. They also did an improvement for some of the card market stuff. One of the big things they told us about is a sneak peek for next week. They are no longer going to allow you to change the prices of your rentals for free. It's going to cost you 1 DEC. I think this is pushing back a little bit against the rental bot services. And it's kind of funny because just the other day when I was a guest on Cryptomancer's show, I asked him if Splex was possibly a problem for the rental market. With the bot being able to auto reprice your cards that you're giving them and constantly competing with the market price, they could be tricked into lowering the price of cards, and you could have a couple whales going back and forth with this bot and just repricing everything super low or just crazy reprices. And so they're implementing this fee to kind of stop that. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see how the different rental bot services handle this. Maybe they're not going to be able to reprice things quite as drastically. And I've been talking about, maybe we should have a minimum price for a rental, and some other people have too. And they did allude that something else might be coming in the next town hall or coming out soon in a post by Matt that has to do with this change along with some other changes. And they said it was kind of spicy and he was prepared for some salt to be tossed at him. So we'll have to see if maybe they're going to make it so that there is a minimal rental fee. And if I thought a lot of people were saying just make it at least 1 DEC, but if they're charging you a 1 DEC fee to change a rental, well, maybe the minimum fee to rent a card might go up to like 10 DEC. I don't know. We're going to see. But I think they have a right to do that because I never really meant to ever rent cards out at 0.1 DEC. But I realized because I gave my cards to Splex and just let them roll I go look over there and I'm like, man, I'm renting out a couple cards for like 0.1, 0.4, 0.5 DEC. And it's like, I never would have priced them that low. I just wouldn't have. So it's kind of an interesting thing to see. Now, I've kind of been burying one of the leads here. Well, Brawlhalla, really, they fixed a problem that was going on in Brawlhalla on the Ghost Card tournaments that was causing some fleas. So the next time they have a Ghost Card tournament, hopefully we won't have anybody that gets a surrender that wasn't supposed to. And then there was also the announcement of the community leaders. So we got the community leaders here. It's Simsasta, Gene Pool, Moriarty, Dave McCoy, and Shingeko. These are all pretty famous people within the ecosystem. I'm not mad about any of these choices, and I'm going to be going to some of them to think about some of the proposals that I've thought about to see if they're things that they would think we might go through with. It's nice to have these people, because if you've had some ideas in your head, like I want to change Waka, I can now go to Dave McCoy and say, or Gene Pool, and say, I have this idea for making this change to the Waka card. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Can you run it up the ladder, talk to the other people, and see if I should actually put this proposal through, or is it terrible, just not doable? Or you don't think you guys would support it at all? Because ideally, if you're going to be putting out a player proposal now, you're going to run it by these guys. They're going to help you fine tune it, help you write it properly, and then put it out there so that the who, when, where, what's, and whys of all the proposals are actually thought out and done well. Gene pools have been pretty good. Some of the other ones, not so much. When we got into creative for Nate, we finally got to see the new dragon summoner, as cute as it is, Mr. or Mrs. Lily Lily Shieldpaw. And also, which one is Lily Shieldpaw? We're assuming it's this one, but really there's 3 of them. Or is it a them that name? Maybe all of them? I'm just joking around. But the more important part, and I'm going to do a whole video on this summoner and my uses of it and how I think it's good. So we're not going to talk about it too much here. But the new dragon summoner is going to give you +1 health, camouflage to all of your monsters, which is going to be kind of interesting because even your tank is going to have camouflage, but he'll be in the tank position where he has to be attacked, and triage. The idea behind this summoner, obviously, when you first look at it, you can play a lot of those glass cannon characters in your back row and no one can target them. But immediately, they made Scattershot able to counter this summoner. So the one thing I will go over really quickly when we go over here and look at the different legendary summoners for the Chaos Legion. So we go to Chaos Legion, Legendary, and Summoners. You can see they kind of counter one another. The only one that doesn't have a clear counter to it, in my mind, is Possibilist. And he's not that dominant, but he doesn't have like a direct counter that I'm aware of. Maybe you would say Grandmaster Wraith, because with the armor and like possibly like, he's going to be harder to get through and kill. But, obviously Immortalis kind of counters Wraith because of the Shatter. And there are some powerful mages now on the kind of Grandmaster teams. And so you're throwing Void onto your team and Shatter. Astral Entity kind of also does a counter to this one. The Astral Entity also counters both Wraith and Kelia decks and just armor decks in general. And then now Conqueror Yasek is going to be countering the new Kitty Summoner. But the new Kitty Summoner with all those camouflages is the first one to counter Possibilist with those darn opportunity monsters with Trample coming in just destroying your back line and trampling through like all your weak monsters. Well, not anymore, because now they're all going to have camouflage. So it's a very interesting thing. It's a much more fair meta and competition that they've built it in. Quix the Devious is kind of like on his own. He doesn't directly counter these guys because he's a little bit weaker than them, but that makes sense because he's your 4 cost, so he competes more when we go down and add in the rare summoners and has to do with them. But overall, as you can see, I think with this group, unlike Untamed, they did a better job of not making anybody too powerful, which should make Modern very, very, very competitive when Rebellion comes out, and these are the most powerful summoners in the game. All of them will be able to be beat if countered the right way, and it's going to be very important that you pay attention to the rule sets and play the right summoners or play the counter to the right summoners. It's a very exciting thing. So there's Lily Shieldpaw. We got a nice new Battle Mage art here that I might use in my thumbnail that, in general, it's pretty cool. I'm going to have to admit, the I just like this idea, the battle mage idea, channeling Lily. And it's kind of interesting, though, here, because when you channel the energy of that itty tiny bitty looking animal, look how big it is. We got a little example here of how they're going to be, doing the new card set screens and the set filters. So that was something that was pretty cool. Other than that, in the Q&A, this was the part where they talked about the mobile app. We talked about land, and they said really they punted on a lot of the land stuff, and they just said that they're really trying to make sure that once you've surveyed your land, really quickly they hope to be able to get the building of buildings and collecting of resources game going. We might be doing that game for a long time, so don't expect it to go super fast. Because they did say at the same time they don't really expect you to be able to craft the cards and the secondary market of the game to get going until Q4 of this year or Q1 of next year. So this is a long play. They're trying to make a very interesting land game with the Secret of Pretoria, with special lands where you're going to be able to stake infinite monsters to kind of collect a special resource that is available over there. It's going to be its own game to itself, and then eventually they're going to add in, well, you've been working to be the best at collecting all these resources. Now you can use those resources to craft equipment cards and spell cards, unless they decide to change it to some other thing. We did learn a little bit more about the validator nodes entering the final stages of private testing. That's big. I know me and Tails went back and forth a little bit on he doesn't know when this is coming out, and we need player staking of SPS to advance into the leagues to protect us from those big bot accounts that he showed off. If you have one guy running 3,000 accounts and all of a sudden you have to stake 1,000 SPS to play in silver, well, then that is 39,000 SPS he has to come up with in stake. Maybe he already has it, but maybe he doesn't. And yes, that does mean some of you are going to need some SPS. So start hanging out with your favorite nice streamer in his Discord, and I might just delegate you some if you need it. But you have to hang out with me, guys. I don't just give stuff to beggars. You have to be my friend. It will be. We have seen the SPS chain running with assets. They're going to be moving all NFTs to the SPS chain eventually. All staking will be done on the SPS chain. Delegation will be done on the SPS chain. SPS chain is currently a side chain, but they aren't, saying that they have to stay on Hive when they were asked. Could we just become a game that fully ran on the SPS chain as a layer 1? It's possible. Could we integrate some other resource on the back end? But really, the Hive resource credit system allows Splinterlands to really bring people in, give them a free, once they pay for their spell book, not make them have to buy the underlying resource to play the game. That's pretty unique. I don't know if any other system out there is going to be able to allow them to offer that. So then spellbooks might have to cost a little bit more because they might have to stake a little bit of some token or give you some token for a little bit of gas. And if it's a gas transaction, eventually you're going to need to get more gas. So there was, after the town hall, Aggie did have a hour-long discussion with people trying to push them to vote on that new proposal, and he really did get it over the hump, it seems, at this point. So thanks everybody for hanging out with me tonight. I'm actually probably not going to get this posted until tomorrow morning because it's a little bit late and I don't really want to go through the editing process, but at least I made it this time, and congratulations to the winner of those SPS that I sent out. Goodbye everyone.